What's going on, everybody? Welcome to episode 6 of the Hoop Venue podcast. My name is Tyler, and as always, we're joined by Sean. We're 8, 9, 10 or so games into the season, and a lot is happening in both conferences. Sean, how are you feeling today?
I'm feeling all right. I guess I have Lucky Green on. Ew, that felt disgusting to say.
Don't ever do that again.
Yeah, I apologize. But no, it's been a fun season so far. And, it's fun to look at some of the stuff that we were saying already, even, 8, 9 games into the season. I think, man, we were really, really stupid with some of those stuff, some of those takes. And then, hey, like that really aged well. So I'm really excited to dive in here.
Yeah, same. And, we're coming off an absolute heater of a Celtics and Warriors game that came down to the final minute. Celtics were up 7. Warriors went on a 23-9 run to put the game away. The silver lining, not even silver lining, I guess the takeaway, I should say, is that are the Warriors back? Like, are they all the way back? I think both of us kind of liked the Warriors a little bit. Like, you went a little bit more in depth in our first episode. You said you think this is the deepest Warriors team since, like, I know you said they were deeper than their
title team. Yeah.
Yeah, like you said they were deeper than the 2022 title team. And I didn't necessarily disagree. I was like, yeah, I see it, but what version of Steph are we getting? What version of Draymond are we getting? Especially the Draymond part of the equation, because he looks like not just like a defensive player of the year. He looks like one of the best versions of himself on both ends of the floor. And if like Draymond is back to even a near prime level, the ceiling of the team completely changes because he's that type of a game changer on as just like a two-way floor general, whatever you want to call him. He's one of the most unique players ever. But we couldn't have possibly expected Buddy Hield to play as well as he has. And I actually am kind of upset that when we did our preseason predictions, neither of us mentioned Buddy Hield for Sixth Man of the Year. And I don't know if it's because we thought he was starting or if we just didn't think about the Warriors at all. But it seems like it's his award to lose at this moment. I don't know how you feel.
Yeah, it's probably his award to lose. But also, in our defense, we went with the, I guess, at the time, no duh options of Malik or Naz Reid. But yeah,
and I think I had Caruso actually, but it was because I took the angle of like most impactful player off the bench, and I'm not even mad at that still, even though he's averaging like 1 point a game. But yeah, my bad. Keep going.
No, that's it. So yeah, I'm not gonna lose too much sleep about that one personally for Sixth Man of the Year, even though Buddy Hield is balling, and we've talked about him on the show.
I think I just saw a tweet before we started recording that said he's averaging 22 points a game on 69% true shooting. And the way he stepped up when Steph was out and was dropping like near 30. I kind of hinted at it on our last episode where I was like, does this say anything about Clay? And I was like, Buddy Hield being able to basically replicate what, but like, even just ignoring the whole Clay thing, I just want to appreciate Buddy Hield because the way he's playing is amazing. Heading into this game, Podziemski led the league in plus minus. He was out against the Celtics, and they didn't skip a beat on either end. So it just feels to me like they're getting back to that level. Wiggins looks great. Kyle Anderson's a seamless fit. Trace Jackson Davis and Looney are both doing their thing. Kuminga, it's just a squad. Moses Moody started today, and my biggest takeaway has been the defense because a lot of people view this as like an undersized team or a team that relies on the three ball to win games, but they started out this game against Boston down like 16-2. Derek White had 4 threes in like the first 3 minutes, and for the last 19 minutes of the first half, the Celtics scored 24 points? 24 points in 19 minutes? The Boston Celtics, like the most efficient offense of all time. That's not normal. And to me, that's like the biggest sign that the Warriors are putting together the type of lineups and roster construction that like is capable of making a deep playoff run.
So I'm assuming, have you seen the Steve Kerr quote about why their defense is so much better this year? Or why he says they're okay? So Steve Kerr's reasoning, at least, is they have a lot better they're doing a way better job at the point of attack this year, essentially, which I think he said this before the Rockets game. And I'm not even going to say that he's wrong. I mean, he's Steve Kerr, so, have at it, dude.
Yeah.
But I don't even think it's all the way that. I do want to give them a lot of credit, though. Like, GP2 is playing back to the level that he was playing that title year, speaking of which. Wiggs is, again, kind of playing back to the way he did that championship year. Really, really glad that all the personal stuff is taken care of, and seemingly, and he's back to playing really, really good ball.
Yeah.
I continue to die on the hill that, and I'm glad that I think I sent you a text about this, or maybe we had this conversation on the show. And I'm glad you threw Golden State in the discussion because I guess I just forgot about them. If we're talking about teams in the league that are at the better at scrambling, helping the helper and things like that, it's OKC and it's Golden State. And I know you threw Miami, you threw
Boston. I think I had in there Miami, Boston, and then what was the fourth team? There was a fourth.
I think it was just OKC because I started off with OKC.
It was 5. I remember I had 5.
Five?
There was a fifth team. Was it?
Well, let me see.
I can't think of it off the top. The Nuggets are another one that's really good, but that wasn't who I mentioned. I know the Pelicans are good at that. Maybe it was just 4. I'm not sure.
Yeah, we'll see.
It could have been just 4. But
they're so good at it. And it starts with Draymond, obviously.
Yep.
And, okay, at this age, maybe he's not the best rim protector. But when you are that elite and these I don't want to make, such a, big statement, but probably the smartest defensive player in the league. From an IQ.
I'll make the bold statement.
Okay, so I'm not
for
crazy.
You. I'll make the bold statement for you. I'd say he's by far the smartest defensive player
Smartest
in the league.
defensive player in the league.
I was going to say probably smartest defensive player since Kevin Garnett.
Yeah.
He's a complete genius. And it's crazy because like you said, he maybe is a little bit more physically limited from his past days, but he's still such a unique physical profile. He's got the height of a 3 or maybe even a 2. He's 6'6", but he's really stocky. But that doesn't
a running back or a linebacker.
It doesn't take away from his agility. He's still really quick left to right. He's still really quick to change speeds. And then he's got the wingspan of a center. I'm pretty sure he has the same wingspan as Giannis or something crazy. It's 7'1", 7'2" or something. And it's the mind though. We talk about elite defensive players and we talk about the margins of what separates who from who. And you can nitpick things. You could nitpick Anthony Davis isn't the best at getting back in transition. I'm always complaining about that with him.
Yeah.
Gobert, I wouldn't say Gobert's a liability on the perimeter, but he obviously can't switch like a lot of other bigs, like an Anthony Davis, for example, or a Bam Adebayo. We talk about Bam. Bam's a pretty good team defender, but I wouldn't say he's anywhere near the free safety or rim protector that a lot of other guys are. Draymond is the one who just checks every single box, and it's if you just watch the Warriors and you just watch Draymond, he's never in the wrong spot. You'll never see him over helping or making a bad closeout or taking a bad gamble. He's just always in the right spot. And so if you just surround him with guys who are going to buy in and are smart with their rotations, that gives you such a high defensive floor. We even saw it a little bit last year. They started playing him at the 5. I want to say it was in February. They started playing him at the 5. And then they had a stretch of having a top 3 defense. And everyone just kind of overlooked it. And I think we're getting to a point now where the Warriors are good enough overall that we can't overlook it. And to me, I know we were talking about the OKC's defense and whatnot, but from what I've seen, I would say Draymond is running away with the Defensive Player of the Year award. It's only 9 games, but so far, I feel confident that he's probably the best defensive player as things currently stand right now.
Yeah. The work they're doing defensively with this group, the scheme versatility that they have due to the fact that it's Draymond back there, that can clean up on the back line and do stuff like that. They've hedged. I don't have any specific coverage data or whatever, but they've hedged a lot. Golden State is typically more of a team to hedge, especially avoid certain matchups. But that's another thing too. I think, and I feel like the narrative switched pretty much a while ago, but in case it hasn't, Steph is a really good team defender, objectively a really good team defender.
Yes.
He's if Draymond's if Draymond, now I don't even want to make like a bad comparison. I'm going to stop myself right there. But Steph, in terms of being in the gaps, kind of similarly as a unique superpower, if you will, as Draymond, of where, hey, look, I know exactly how I'm supposed to help here in the gap, or like one pass away, or as the tag man, and know like I'm going to live with this, but it's to help plug the gap here, and I know we're going to rotate elsewhere. And then again, like shout out Wiggs. Wiggs returning back to form is such a huge development for them. Honestly, is this more important for Golden State, like Wiggs returning to form, than Kuminga blossoming to an all-star that we kind of noted preseason?
I feel like yes, in just in terms of like short-term success, just because I think like winning a championship takes a lot of mind, and Wiggins has been there, done that, and knows the team a lot better. Like I think Kuminga's actually like his one big flaw as a player is the mental aspect, and not in terms of like mental strength, but just straight up like IQ. Like knowing how to make the right decisions on both ends of the floor. Like I think he's immensely talented, but that's a hard gap to bridge. Like it kind of feels like it's something you either got or you don't. Like you can learn about the game and learn the system and things like that, but like processing speed and just things of that nature kind of come naturally, and that's why like a player like Wiggins, who isn't like Draymond or Steph in terms of genius, but has shown to be capable of doing a lot of different things on that championship level squad. So yeah, I would say Wiggins getting back to form is probably more important than Kuminga's development. And also, like, what does this mean for Kuminga? Because he hasn't been playing a ton of minutes. Like, I think he only played like 18 minutes against the Celtics.
Yep.
And he's been coming off the bench for a few games, and it's like, what does it mean? Because I'm sure there are a lot of teams out there that would like to trade for a player with a ton of tools like Kuminga. Like, how old is he? He's got to be only 22 years old.
Yeah.
He's still 22 years old. So, like, there's a lot of growth there. So, that'll be something interesting to track, because he kind of feels like more of a luxury than a guy that they need to get to the level they're at right now.
Especially with their timeline right now, where it's still, we think, at least from their perspective, we still think we can compete. I mean, whether or not it's true, I mean, we'll still see. But, like, the timeline is we still think we can compete with this window of Steph. And if that's the case, then, yeah, like, how valuable is he? Or is he just, kind of like you said, more of a luxury?
And their next game is against the 9-0 Cavs. So, well, I mean, they have a crazy stretch coming up with, like, Boston started it. They handled business. But, yeah, now you got, what, Cleveland. I think they have OKC coming up, the Clippers. So they've got a little bit of a bloodbath coming up. But speaking of the Cavs, I kind of want to talk about the East a little bit.
Elite side,
because I saw a tweet that was a screenshot of the NBA standings.
Yep.
And it was the Celtics and the Cavs were like 7-1 and 8-0. And then there was no other team above 500. The Heat were the 3 seed with a record of 3-3. And I'm kind of like waiting to see how it unfolds, but is it just that it's a small sample, early season, you know, wins and losses, whatever, schedules, or is it just 2 good teams in the East and a bunch of mid? Like, what are your thoughts on just the landscape of the East right now?
It certainly looked that way to start off the season, where it's just 2 good teams and a bunch of mid. One of the things I've been trying to do, if you guys are like following me on Twitter or whatever, is like do a weekly power rankings, if you will, just kind of like feel how it is in the league right now. And this week was so hard, because I think if you look at my top 10, it's essentially the entire West and the Celtics and the Cavs. But then you go to like, okay, we're at number 11, number 12 now. Oh, crap. Well, you got to get an Eastern Conference team somewhere here, right? Wait. Yeah. The next team is 3-4, and the Knicks, I think, wound up losing tonight. I think that's right.
Yeah.
They wound up.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah. The Knicks wound up losing to our Atlanta Hawks. I'm dubbing them as our Atlanta Hawks here. And
Trae Young reignited the rivalry. I don't know if you caught that after the game.
I did not, but I love it.
He was on the mic and he was saying, "Get out of here, New York fans." So that's what I like to see.
Trae's awesome.
Yeah.
I think obviously I think the East is better than what they're showing right now. because if you look at the top tier contenders that were supposed to be performing better, God, Zachary Shea had 33 tonight. One, the Pacers, they're ever so slowly, like damn near at a snail's pace, I think, getting back to form. I think somebody put a tweet out earlier about whether or not we need to be concerned with Hallie shooting and stuff like that. The answer is still no. I am starting to get a little annoyed with somebody said it might have been KOC, and I mean, I don't know. He brought up that Halliburton's been dealing with back spasms, I guess, since the playoffs. And if you could have there is an eye roll emoji. That's basically me when I heard that. I'm like, okay. I'm the Hallie supporter here. I get what you're saying. And what's weird to me about the Halliburton thing is, like, if you just take a look at his box score, like his shooting percentage each game, it's like he's been a complete disaster. Like 39% from the field, I think, and his points per game is down to like 15. But actually, if you like take a little bit of a deeper dive, a lot of the signals like aren't too bad. Like his 2-point percentage, I think, is pretty similar to last year, and it's like the same amount of volume. His turnovers are still way down. His free throw rate is about the exact same, and it's literally just the fact that the three ball is not falling. Yeah. And he's obviously not going to continue shooting 28% from three. So if the three ball just gets back to what it was last year, we're essentially looking at a very similar player. The assists are down, and I don't know how much of that has to do with him or just like the fact that they have so many ball handlers on the team right now, and Matherin's back and playing ISO, and I don't really know, but I like you said, they're kind of getting back into form. On the season, they're up to 6th in offensive pace, so they're getting back. Yeah, they're getting back. I mean, we were talking about it in one of the last episodes. They were like 29th or something crazy, really low
through the first couple of games. I think they started did they start 1-4 or 1-3? They've won a few in a row. Halliburton had his first really good game of the season against Dallas, and that was a good sign because Tyrese, Siakam, and Turner, all three had great games at the same time. So, I don't know. I'm not out on the Pacers. They're 500 right now. They actually might have... Did they win tonight?
They beat Orlando. So they're
So does that make them 4-4 or 5-4?
I don't know, 4-4. They're 4-4.
Okay, so they just got to 500. So I think they won 3 in a row.
They're now 10th in pace, or 12th in pace, per NBA.com.
Yeah, well, so
but still,
I was looking
that's a massive improvement.
I was looking at offensive pace on play-by-play sats, which actually separates offense. So yeah, overall pace they probably were like 10th or 12th because I don't think they have a fast defense, but because they don't force turnovers and whatnot. But some of the teams that we expected to kind of be in this Eastern Conference mix just haven't been able to actualize. Like the Magic looked like they were going to be a threat, and then Paolo got hurt, and now they don't even look like an NBA level offense. I just think it's a lack of personnel at this moment. Like Franz, I think, is a little bit too passive to carry the load of a guy like Paolo. And then their second creator is like Jalen Suggs, who I love. I love Jalen Suggs, but I don't know if he's ready to carry that type of offensive load. And then you got guys like KCP, Gary Harris. Like, those are off-ball guys. And it's like they need a guy like Paolo to really maximize their games. So I just think they're just missing a piece right now, and I expect them to be a 45, 50-win team when Paolo's in there. But the big one has been the Bucks.
Philly, before you continue, not to cut you off, Philly, because I got this comment a little bit. I'm fully anticipating when Embiid gets back, and screw what was his name, Marcus Hayes. When Embiid gets back from now his 3-game suspension for that locker room incident, which I think was kind of may have a bigger deal initially than what it really was. Like, you say altercation, your mind's immediately going to punched, and he yelled at the guy a little aggressively. When he gets back, Paul George just got back healthy. Now, if this team is
I think Joel is making his return next Tuesday. So
yeah, when the suspension's done. Yeah. So like they're gonna be a lot better than, and they were in a dogfight with Phoenix. Like
I have it written down right here. I said the Sixers without Embiid just straight up aren't a good team. And I know it's trendy to hate on him, but the moment he steps back into the lineup, they're gonna look like a 60-win team. Yeah. And it's like that has to mean something. Like
insert when we talk top about 5 player 60 wins.
Yeah. like when we talk about the hierarchy of players in the league, like it has to mean something that a team that literally looks like the worst team in the league will just simply add a guy and look like the best regular season team in the league. Like, say what you want about Embiid and his injury history and his playoff performances, whatever, but like that has to account for something because that's just generational work.
Yeah.
But
good
yeah,
about Milwaukee.
Milwaukee. I mean, we kind of keep like dancing around the bush, and it's like, is it like time to press the panic button? And I'm kind of getting there. They don't have any point of attack defense, so guards are just free reign against them. Garland and Mitchell were the latest example of that.
Yep.
There's no athleticism on the roster at all besides Giannis.
Yep.
And then Andre Jackson, who barely plays. Like,
I'm about to say he gets no take.
Right. The team is just starved for athleticism at every position. They have zero lineup versatility because they have no wings. Like, Middleton's pretty much the only capable wing on the whole team. And then their bigs are like, Bobby Portis can't defend, Brook Lopez can't move. So it's like the only versatile player on the roster is Giannis. The only athletic player on the roster is Giannis. Even with Middleton in the mix, like I'm willing to go back on my word. I had them number 2 in the East heading into the season. And it was because I had so much confidence in their starting 5. But now I'm just like almost all the way out to the point where I think I just seriously overrated the team. And I think I over-indexed on how much heavy lifting Giannis could do for a team that just has so many obvious flaws.
Giannis has been good. Like,
yeah, very.
Very good. He's, 31, 12, and 6. Like, basically typical Giannis numbers.
Exactly.
Dame's been, like, for the most part, good. I think he's had, like, maybe two rough games thrown in there. But this is, I mean, if you told me to start the season that this is what you're going to get out of Dame and Giannis production-wise, say, oh, okay. Like, they might drop a couple. Like, they might lose to Cleveland 1 of the 2 times. And, I mean, I guess, yes, technically they should be in Cleveland that first game at the very least. But I say, yeah, this seems, solid enough. You add Middleton back in the mix, and we'll see. I think I'm out. I think I'm out on Milwaukee.
I will say though, the one thing that kind of keeps me a little bit in on the Bucks is the fact that both of those Cavs games were very competitive down to the final buzzer, and in one of them they didn't have Giannis. So to me, that kind of suggests like maybe they can compete, and maybe it's just a bad start. But yeah,
I think part of it is the bad start. It does make it tough. Like in the game without.
Well, yeah, I think we both agree they're not a 1-6 team. Yeah, maybe they're not a number 2 in the East type of team, or like, because obviously right now I'm sure we both agree Boston and Cleveland is 1 and 2 in the East. Like,
yeah, and I'm glad I got the apology out on the Cavs last episode, and they just keep winning. Look, I think this upcoming stretch is still really, really important for Milwaukee. I don't want to go far and say salvage their season. So, this stretch is important to salvage their season. But it is statistically really, really hard. Let's say you beat Utah. You lose to Utah, then
yeah,
it's wraps. But
yeah,
the stretch after that, even at New York, at New York, then you got Boston and Toronto coming home. We'll talk about Toronto in a sec. That's a team that's been really flying under the radar. But
yeah,
let's say in that 3-game stretch, then you got frisky games against Detroit and Charlotte. And for Milwaukee, they're very frisky considering they lost to Chicago and Brooklyn. So no teams beneath the Bucks right now. Let's say you come out of that 5-game stretch, 2-3. That's still tough to kind of make a push and kind of save your season, if you will, in air quotes. Got to get Giannis back out. Dame's like we've said, Dame's played well. Had 36 in the last Cavs game after a 41-point game the night before in the first part of the Cavs doubleheader, which I hate, by the way. I hate when teams play each other back to back. It's such
the second game is always so boring. It's just like it's so uninteresting.
Yeah, I just watched you guys play. It's the regular season. I don't need to watch this again.
And was that a thing? Was that a thing before COVID, or because I don't really remember that?
This
I was gonna say it became a thing when they wanted to do less travel because of COVID.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan.
Still reaping the consequences of COVID. That's unfortunate.
Yeah.
You know, why not? Why not? Let's talk about the Raptors because they are very, very interesting.
Yeah.
I made a tweet the other day. I said, RJ Barrett and Grady Dick, at the very least, you guys have my attention. RJ, I've said this on the pod. I've talked about this in the past as well, that RJ for me is probably the ultimate I need sample size guy in the league.
Him and Jalen Green were the two.
Him and Jalen Green, yep. And he's been so good. Even though, like, it's still, like, thinking about the fact that it's still early and we've still technically never gotten the full season, you do have to admit, like, bro, he's balling right now. And then Grady Dick is probably had the most it's like him and Bilal probably, for just going off of impressiveness of like their year 2 starts. Anthony Black's up there, Wemby's still Wemby, but
I would say Grady. Yeah, I would say Grady's like by far number 1 on that list for me.
Yeah. Thoughts on the Raptors?
Yeah, the RJ Barrett thing is really interesting to me, and I wanted to compare him to Jalen Green specifically because it reminds me of a similar discussion we had on one of our last episodes, and it was like, is Jalen Green's play sustainable? Let's look at some of the statistical indicators, and there is a little bit that worries me about RJ, but there's also some stuff that really I like about RJ. The first is his efficiency as a scorer right now is very reliant on the 3-ball hitting at the rate it is. Like, his 2-point percentage is down from the last couple of years. And
that
I think
can
that's
go
just
both ways.
Yeah, it's like a necessity thing. It's like he's expected to be the number 1 creator. It's tougher driving lanes. Like that's going to happen.
Out.
Yeah, that's going to happen. But the 3-point percentage, like his 3-point volume is up to over 7 attempts a game, and he's making 38%. I need to see more of that to be convinced that he's that caliber of shooter. And then, like, if the 3-ball stops falling, what does that mean for his scoring? Like, he's scoring 26 points a game right now. Like, what if the 3-ball was hitting at a normal rate? What would his scoring look like? Would it be efficient enough to sustain that level of volume? I don't know, but the thing that I'm so in on with RJ is the playmaking. We started to see flashes of it last year where, like, they put the ball in his hands and the drive and kick was there. I think RJ is the ultimate, like, Tyreek Evans, where you can't really do much to stop him from getting to the paint. He just isn't a very good finisher when he gets there, but even a bad finisher is still efficient offense because it's a layup or a dunk. And so the defense has to react to it. It's like Russell Westbrook. Like, Russell Westbrook might miss a lot of layups. The defense is still not going to just let him shoot a layup. So RJ Barrett draws a lot of attention on those drives, and his decision making has really stood out. Like, he's had multiple games of 10+ assists. He's averaging like 8 on the season.
Yeah. And he's averaging 8 per 75 possessions too.
So for me, it's like the scoring to be determined, the defense too to be determined, because I've seen some good and some bad on defense. But the playmaking, I'm all in on. Like, I think RJ Barrett's a legit creator, and I really like it. But I want to talk about Grady Dick because a lot of people have like hinted at, hey, you need to make a Grady Dick video. Like, they were in our playback stream. They've been in my YouTube comments. They've been in my Twitter DMs. And I've been like, all right, he's got my attention.
There's a joke there, but continue.
We're not.
Why are we DMing each other about that? But my bad.
There's no joke. Grady Dick's 2 big skills coming into the league were his off-ball movement and his shooting. He was kind of like the JJ Redick archetype, right? And I think right away what we're seeing is, like, he's not just a normal off-ball mover. Like, the way he fills out space, the way he times up his cuts, his relocation, like, he's a legit elite off-ball mover. Feel for the game off the charts. That alone with the shooting touch gives him such a high floor. Like, we already know what we're getting with Grady Dick. And then he adds this other stuff, like the dribble drive game, the way he's putting pressure on the rim, but especially the mid-range work. Like, this dude's looking like a Kevin Durant level mid-range scorer right now in terms of, like, the way he gets to his spots, the tough shot making. Like, I was watching a game recently. I can't remember which one it was. It was their last game, but it might have been the Kings down the stretch. He was hitting some tough fadeaways. And I was like, yeah, this guy needs a video. So my shameless plug of the episode will be, yes, I will be making a Grady Dick video. But yeah, like, this guy's really been hooping. And so you got RJ playing the way he is, Grady Dick doing the things he's doing. Jakob's been awesome. Ochai Abaji's a good
Oh
offensive
my
player
god,
now.
yeah. Like, where did this come from?
I don't know. And then they've got Davion Mitchell playing like a traditional point guard role from like the 80s, where it's like, yeah, you're going to dribble down and set up the offense, and then we just need you to lock up whoever's bringing the ball down on the other end. And he was clamping De'Aaron Fox, like had De'Aaron Fox in prison.
Yeah.
And yeah, not that I expect the Raptors to be a playoff team or anything, but like, man, there's a lot to like. And I'll admit, like, I was completely uninterested in them going into the season, and now like I'm loving them.
Yeah, the Raptors were one of the teams. I think when we did our discussion about teams that are gonna underperform expectations or whatever, I had the Raptors in that mix.
Yeah.
But Raptor fans, one of the takes I did have throughout the summer was I am prepared to be wrong about them. 'Cause, like, I'm perfectly fine if I'm wrong with the Raptors because I still kind of saw some of the potential. Yeah, Grady's insane. He's shooting 60% on pull-up threes. I'm sorry. Pull-up twos. Guys, my bad. Read the thing wrong. Because pull-up threes would have been nuts, but still 60%.
Damian Lillard in the bubble.
Right. 60% of pull-up twos. 56% on catch and shoot, like open catch and shoot threes. So you can't leave him wide open, obviously. But he's also shooting 71% on catch and shoot twos, which will let him. I love that you brought up the part about his kind of feel, and it is kind of JJ Redick-esque in terms of their feel, in terms of coming off of the screens, off of off-ball screens, whether I'm like curling it super tight to try to get to the rim or get to my mid-range game. And Grady is really, really good at that. You don't even need him to be this ultra great finisher, which I don't think he ever was a really, really good finisher. But you combine that with, like you said, RJ, who's still shooting them per 75 possessions, the most field goal attempts at the rim per 75 his entire career.
Yeah.
The numbers will probably sway more his advantage in terms of the efficiency. But like you said, the playmaking you're bought in on. And then you got to think, you combine him, Scotty, and IQ. I don't necessarily think that any of them are elite playmakers, but you don't need any of them to be. If that's kind of the group you're working with, where if this is RJ, you have great playmaker, Scotty, great playmaker, and IQ, who's fine. Like that's such a high floor for your offensive ceiling. And yeah, I mean Jakob can initiate some stuff from delay action for them. So Raptors are fun. Raptors are off to a fun start.
Yeah, I mean, so like I said, I don't view the Raptors as like necessarily a playoff team. I think in one of our episodes, I actually might have called them the worst team in the league, which is just wrong. Like I
didn't go that far, Raptors fan.
I think you pushed back on that. I think I said that, and you were like, I wouldn't say they're the worst team in the league. But some other teams that I would say are the worst teams in the league a few days ago would be the Nets and the Bulls, both of which have looked kind of good. So I know the Bulls lost tonight to the Mavs by like 30 something. Yeah. So but the Bulls are interesting because they're playing ridiculously fast, like noticeably faster than last year's Pacers. I remember I brought up earlier in this episode offensive pace. I think the Bulls this year are averaging like 13.2 seconds per possession, and last year's Pacers were like 13.8. So more than half a second faster than the Pacers. They've got a lot of guys who like to get out and run.
13.83 was the Pacers last year.
So they've got a lot of guys who like to get out and run, like Kobe White's good in the open floor. Zach LaVine's obviously a freak athlete. And Giddey is the one controlling tempo. And I want to give credit to Giddey because I feel like everyone's kind of overlooked the way he's been able to create for all these off-ball guys. Like, I'm still not super in on Giddey as an overall player, like a high-impact guy on a playoff team, but just in terms of what he's done with a lot of the Bulls young guys as like a floor general, I've really liked. In the half court, they've got two big-time scoring weapons in LaVine and Kobe White who are capable of giving you 20, 25, unleashing 10 threes. Versatile scorers. But you know what's really, really funny, I think, about the Bulls start? And no one will ever talk about it because it's of who it is, but Vooch is playing by far the best basketball.
Big
Vooch is playing by far the best basketball of his career, and everything kind of revolves around him. So, like, if you want to point to one guy as, like, the catalyst for Chicago's success, it's kind of Vooch. And, like, as crazy as it sounds because of how he's been labeled over the last few years, like, yeah, shocker when Vooch is shooting 50% from three. He's kind of a good offensive hub. Yeah, I think there's some shooting luck going on. Like I kind of just hinted at it with Vooch. There's a few guys on the team shooting like 45 to 50% from three. Like Levine and Kobe White are up in the high 40s. So like I don't think that's gonna hold necessarily. And I do think they're still
shooting 50% from three.
Yeah. And I don't necessarily think they're like a good defense. Like they're probably a pretty weak defense without Lonzo Ball. So I'm not expecting much, but they're a really fun, interesting team that I think is like gonna shock some people by winning big games against contenders,
like they did against the Grizzlies and the Bucks, especially that Bucks game, second night of the year. I don't have a lot to say on this Bulls team. I will say one of the guys that I did have as a sneaky breakout guy heading into this season would have been Patrick Williams. I thought the stretch he had last year, where you kind of saw some of the offensive game developing finally, and I've always liked Patrick Williams' ability as a defensive player, especially as a wing stopper, and
the paw.
Yeah, it just hasn't like worked out quite yet. Kobe White's a player though, and I mean this goes back to the conversation we had last episode about like don't overthink talent. Like Zach LaVine's a really good offensive player. I don't know if you guys have heard the news. He's a really good offensive player. It sucks that he's hurt now. I don't know actually how long he's gonna be out, but do want to get that off. He's a really good offensive player. And then Kobe White, it's fun. I think that he's had a couple of rough games. Like he had the Dallas game tonight, shot 3 for 13. He had the OKC game, shot 3 for 12. But I mean, I think unless he's facing an elite defense at OKC, and I'm going to presume like just a bad night-to-night shooting, you have a really good floor with Kobe White now, and that's cool to see that Kobe White developed this much as a scorer. Because he has a really high floor.
Yeah, I think the one thing with Kobe White is you kind of have to live with those types of performances because a lot of his scoring is reliant on the three ball.
Yeah.
And those types of guys, like it's like the Trae Young effect. Like it's like Trae Young is always going to be able to get the volume up, but it's like some nights are just you're just not hitting. And I think Kobe White kind of has that, and I think the development for him has to be like, okay, where can I find spots that like are automatic? Like Zach LaVine is the same type of thing with the volume three ball, but Zach LaVine's such a freak athlete and slasher that it's like, even if the three ball's not falling, I'm going to get a bunch of layups and dunks.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think like when you pair those two guys together, like Kobe White and LaVine is such a fun duo.
I don't know why. I literally don't know what the reason is, but so far this season, Kobe White's actually gone down in rim, like field goal frequency per 75 possessions from last year, and is actually his career low so far this season.
I actually
shooting
wonder
less mid-range attempts than last year too. Not to cut you off.
I was gonna say, I wonder if Kobe's rim volume has anything to do with the fact that there isn't a creator on the team as good as DeRozan right now, and DeRozan is the type of guy that really draws in help in the middle of the floor, and Kobe likes to play out of the slot, so like an easy catch and go, get to the rim.
Yeah.
I wonder if it's something to do with that.
Yeah, that's interesting. It's something to keep an eye out on. And
but I mean, if Vooch is still shooting 50% from three, I mean, the defense is gonna have to start respecting him on the pop. So maybe that's how Kobe starts getting to the rim. But what were you about to say? You were about to say something.
No, I was gonna say. I think speaking of teams to have our attention, Vooch is one of them. We gotta talk about the Brooklyn Nets. We gotta give the Nets some love here.
Yeah.
Jordy Fernandez, I love the hire. I thought he was, outside of David Adelman, I thought like one of the two or three best candidates in this last head coaching cycle. And Brooklyn seems to have found them one, like a long-term stay at head coach, not just a recycled hire they're gonna be right back in the same spot in 2 seasons when they're inevitably really, really bad. What's kind of your biggest takeaway with this Nets team so far, outside of the fact that like Cam Thomas and Dennis Schroeder are hooping right now?
I would say my biggest takeaway from the Nets isn't like anything specific in their play, but just how competitive they've been. Like they've been competitive in almost every single game they've played, and that goes to like 2 big wins against the Grizzlies, pushing the Nuggets to the brink of overtime. Like they've been competitive. Yeah, they've been competitive in every game they've played. And it's like, it's such an interesting thing because almost all of their offense is created by three guys. You mentioned Schroeder and Cam Thomas. Cam Johnson's the third guy. And it's like,
Johnson's hooping.
all of their offense comes from those three guys. And it's like, how are they so effective? I mean, I would say like, yeah, Schroeder's shooting almost 50% from three. That's not going to hold, but probably neither is Cam Thomas's 30%. Like, I feel like both of those can kind of even out. And like Cam Thomas is just a bucket. We've talked about him. The Nets are really interesting. And then they have like some interesting defensive pieces. Like Dorian Finney-Smith fills out that lineup. But then it's like at the 5, they've been starting Ben Simmons when he's in. And then Nick Claxton has been coming off the bench. Claxton's one of the most versatile defensive bigs in the league. They're interesting. And I have 3 big questions with them. And it's kind of like just a thing we have to wait and see. My first one is, are they a play-in team? Like, I feel like everyone kind of wrote them off as like the 15 seed. But like, are they a play-in team? Or are they one of those like 25 to 30 win teams that just always performs up to their competition? Like, because those teams exist. Or is it that playoff teams that they've faced so far are playing down to the competition level of the Nets? I really don't know. And that's like, I'm kind of wait and see with the Nets because they've caught my eye. They're really interesting, but I don't know which direction to lean in yet with those questions.
Trying to see if there's anything super noticeable about them, like are they playing? No, they're actually second lowest in pace this year. Last year Brooklyn was okay. Never mind. They're playing about up heavy. Last year's Brooklyn Nets team was bottom 5. So
yeah,
there's not even nothing.
I don't know, and I think they've been an above average offense. And going into the season, I would never have guessed that. I would never have guessed that Brooklyn would be an above average
Brooklyn's
offense.
8th in offensive rating.
Yeah, like, would you have ever expected them to be a top 10 off? I mean, and again, it's only 9 games, so it might not hold, but that's impressive.
Yeah.
And shout out to Cam Thomas because a lot of people want him to be empty stats so bad, but that right there is a sign like that his scoring is gonna produce good offense, like as long as he remains as efficient as he's been.
And
like
that makes it even more impressive, honestly, for Cam Thomas to be the number one, like clear-cut number one scoring option for a top 10 offense that is not a super like fast-paced team. I feel like that's way harder to do than the opposite, where it's okay, we're gonna play fast and we're gonna live with the mistakes. I feel like that's even more impressive.
And I was gonna say too, like, a lot of people haven't given enough credit to Cam Thomas for the fact that like he's really the only capable isolation scorer in their whole roster.
Yeah,
like most teams have like other guys to take the pressure off him. Like Schroeder can create a little bit in the pick and roll. Cam Johnson's got like the off-ball movement type of gravity, but like just in terms of give this guy the ball and let him create, Cam Thomas is the only guy capable of doing that on the roster. And so for them to be as effective as they are right now is a testament to like, yeah, Cam Thomas is a really good player. He's a bucket.
Brooklyn fans, shout out. Let's get to the West, which has kind of been the opposite of the East. In terms of how the West has started, where it is still very much, I think, OKC and then somewhat everyone else in, slot in different orders. But the West has definitely been way more competitive from a win-loss standpoint to start off the season. You have 10 teams so far, and another one's playing right now with, I guess, the Sixers. We have 10 teams, potentially 11 in the West that boast at least a 500 or better record through 8-ish games of the season. Tyler, where do you want to start off with this Western Conference?
You know what? I want to start negative. Should we? I want to talk about like the Lakers and the Grizzlies because we both had them in our top like 7. We kind of had a big 7. Neither of which included the Warriors, by the way. We didn't include the Warriors in our big 7, so
yeah,
miss on our part. But like we both had the Grizzlies 5th, and I think you had the Lakers 7th, and I had them 6th.
Yeah.
And I kind of want to talk about both of those teams because both have been like around 500. The Lakers lost today, but they were missing both Rui and AD, so I'm not over-indexing on that. But I mean, the Lakers kind of have the same. I would say their biggest flaw is transition defense for years, and it looks like that's still the biggest flaw. They're probably the worst transition defense in the league. And I don't even think it's a coaching issue. I think it's a personnel thing. Like, they have weak defensive guards. Anthony Davis is one of the worst bigs in the league at getting back. Jared Allen
is
beat
probably
him.
lone flaw defensively.
Yeah, I was gonna say, yeah, Jared Allen beat him down the floor like 5 times in the Cavs game. And that is a big problem because teams are going to exploit that. Like high level teams. Like I didn't watch the Grizzlies game tonight, but I would be willing to bet John Morant got a lot of buckets just running quick offense.
Speedy, go fast.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean that's all Jokic was doing in the both of the Denver series. Just running down the floor, just chucking. But I want to ask you about the Lakers, like, because we were both very much in on their offense in the first 3 or so games, and I haven't caught as much over the last few games, but they've dropped a few winnable games. Like, they shouldn't have lost to the Pistons. And I want to ask you, like, is there anything you've noticed with the offense to where it's, like, been worse, or is it just, like, execution, or, like, what has caught your eye with the offense?
I think the thing with the offense is the execution is just dialed back a lot. And one of the things that don't think it's enough attention when you look at these types of offenses that are like, look at UConn. There's obviously a lot of inspiration from some of their concepts. I'm going to throw Golden State out there. A Utah, like peak Will Hardy Utah team. It's whatever peak looks like, considering they haven't won more than 35 or whatever games since he's been there. But you know what I'm going for here,
for sure.
Timing is so important. Timing and like legitimately good screen setting, and LeBron's probably their second best screen setter, which is a problem because ideally, in a lot of these actions, it's Bron as the initiator or as a part of the action in some regards, not necessarily being the screener, like an off-ball screener, like away from the action off-ball screener. You turn that into being Rui or Jackson, illegal screen Hayes, who's dealing with a situation right now. Or, I mean, it's weird that, I mean, I'm going to throw this guy out. He gets a lot of hate in terms of his offensive game, but Vando would probably be the third best screener on this team. In terms of how they can, position him and utilize him.
Sorry to cut you off, but you know who I want to give credit as a screener? Colin Castleton. He's a great screener. Not that he'll ever play, but he's a good.
He's Memphis now too. So the
Wait,
Lakers,
he's on Memphis?
Yeah, the Lakers wait him to give Quincy Oliver. I'm gonna botch his name.
I didn't know that. Well, Colin Castleton, the Steven Adams replacement, apparently great screener.
Yeah, so Memphis is essentially G League Lakers hub. Scottie Pippen Jr., Jay Huff, and then Colin Castleton. Is Bronny next? Right. To be continued. I will say this: I'm not worried about LA still because I came off I feel like towards the beginning of the year, specifically the Laker fans, as kind of the hater, right? Like, oh man, you're hating the team's 3-1 or whatever the hell the record was. And now it's the sky's falling. I'm like, no, like this is the Lakers from all their strengths and all their weaknesses. If we're being honest, none of this has really surprised me. We knew they were going to be a really bad defensive team to start off the year, especially until Vando gets back at the very least. Now, do we think they'd be this bad? I mean, maybe not, but we knew the floor was still relatively low. Like bottom 10 would be the range, and I mean, where are they on defensive rating right now? The defensive rating,
I'm not sure. You can't be good.
They're 28th, and okay, maybe not that low, but if you told me they were the 23rd best defense, I would have said, yeah, that's about right. We knew offensively, like the shooting is, that's going to be the variable, like on a night-to-night basis. How well are they going to shoot? But Austin's played really, really well. I mean, maybe even better than you thought he would. I guess the bigger disappointment is my take with a guy like D'Lo has always been, he's going to give you a pretty high regular season floor. D'Lo's not been good, and we might have talked about this on a recent episode about the Austin and D'Lo thing, where Austin playing this well and the way they utilize Austin just makes D'Lo super non-important. which is something they have to figure out and cycle through. But I mean, this, for all their strengths and all the weaknesses, this is the Lakers. You throw AD back in there, obviously didn't play tonight. Rui's played well. There's still stuff to like about them, but I'm not worried about them. And then Memphis, Ja actually got hurt tonight. It's like a hamstring thing, which
I didn't even know that.
We know how those can be. But I think, one, it's really like, please just play your best players. It's annoying watching a Grizzlies game and only watching 26 minutes of Ja Morant. Get your deep, but damn, play your good players.
Or like, 12 minutes of Zach Edey in a game where he got a double-double already.
Yeah.
like there was a game.
Why?
What game was it? It might have been the most recent Nets game. Zach Edey went on a crazy stretch.
It was the Nets game.
Blocks. Yeah, back-to-back blocks, like one of his signature 15-foot jump hooks. Then got subbed out for like 2 quarters. And I was like, what? Like, this is the best he's played.
Yeah. Do we need 30? And Jake LaRavia is a really good player, legitimately. But do we need to watch this much Jake LaRavia? You know? So more rotation related stuff with Memphis. They still aren't healthy. And Desmond Bane didn't play tonight.
I was going to say, the only concern I've really had with Memphis, and I guess this could fall into LA too. Like, LA, I think LeBron probably has looked a step slower, and I'm not really worried about it because I feel like that's kind of how the beginning of the season always goes for LeBron. Like, he kind of gets into form like January, February, so I'm still waiting. But same thing with Ja Morant. Like, his scoring has been way down.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure if it's like a thing that the defenses do, like defenses are approaching him differently, or if he's just being less aggressive, but he went from a guy who was averaging like 26, 27 points a game to, through a few games, his season high was 26.
Mm-hmm.
And I love the playmaking. I actually think Ja's also been pretty much a lot better defensively than in years past, just in terms of buy-in. But, and I don't know if it's really like a Ja regression or if it's like he's kind of playing back into form with a different roster, because like this is a drastically different roster than the one he's played with in years past.
Yeah.
Missed almost the entire last season. So yeah, I think I'm pretty much confident in the Grizzlies, barring the Ja injury situation. I'm not sure what's up with that.
He's an elite playmaker. He's finding his way into tier 1 for me for playmaking. He's so good.
Playmaker. Such a good playmaker. But what about the Rockets? Because they're another team in that mix of like 4 or 5 wins right now. I know you've been wanting to talk about them. We talked about Jalen Green a little bit in the last episode, but like the team as a whole, we haven't gone into. What is it like that you're noticing with the Rockets that you wanted to talk about?
So this kind of sparked. So I think I'm trying to remember the timeline. We did episode 5, and maybe it was that night. So maybe that's why it was so fresh in my mind. The Rockets played the Warriors, and they were getting blasted or whatever. They had a fun comeback. And maybe this is foolish of me for like not understanding it a little bit sooner. But like when people say that Jalen Green and Sengun just aren't a good fit with each other, I was like, my thought process has always been, well, I think you can do stuff with them. Like you have the playmaking hub that is Sengun, but you can use that to your advantage as to get Jalen Green downhill out of action, but it was like zoom action or whatever. You can run some fun 2-man game stuff. Number one, I think the biggest problem for them before tonight was that Fred VanVleet's been awful before tonight's game, which is so problematic for them because Fred is, or has been, especially this year, the like creator from a playmaking standpoint. For everybody else, he's been that, which one, it's kind of like, what's the point? You're taking half of what makes Sengun a really good offensive player and essentially neutralizing it and not letting it play into your advantage. And then when you do that, you look at like the starting 5 for an example. In a perfect world, it's ironic we talked about Russell Westbrook earlier, but it's kind of like, dude, let's give Jalen Green like the spacing and let him go cook and attack off the dribble and stuff like that, and maybe help out the shot die where now he is shooting I'm just super reliant on the pull-up game and things like that. I thought they probably should have played Reed a little bit more, but I mean he's been fine. So I think that's kind of the problem. I think it really stems for me from from the three, I guess, primary starters from an offensive point, it's Sengun, Fred, and Jalen that don't fit with each other, I think, at all. Now, Fred is probably the easiest guy to just say, we'll cut our ties. I think it's a team option at the end of the summer, or he's just an unrestricted free agent, so you could pretty easily cut ties there. But if this team faces a good, God forbid they have to play a good defense with good POA guys and good weak side help and stuff like that. By the way, I just described the Golden State Warriors. For 70% in that game, the Rockets had no clue what to do or what their plan was offensively. Was it, hey, we're going to feed Sengun, we're going to let Jalen Green cook in space, we're going to give Fred VanVleet all these unnecessary offensive half-court possessions, and the level of indecisiveness that was on display for 70% of that game, and even the comeback was just, we're playing defense now, which I guess this team might be able to lay its hat on a little bit, especially with Udoka being the coach. But even then, like I said, the comeback was, we're going to play a little bit harder, and Tari Eason's really, really good at basketball. So I don't know, man. I'm kind of losing. I don't know if interest is the word, or I guess trust in the fit with their offensive process, and they gotta figure it out with Sengun and Jalen. They just paid both of them, and they're 5-3. But I think I'm definitely lower on this Rockets team, even though they're 5-3.
Yeah, I feel the same way. I was low on the Rockets coming in. I said, I don't even know if they're going to be like a 40, 41 win team. And people were projecting them to be a 50 win team.
Yeah.
I want to say, they're 5-3. So I don't want to make it sound like they're just dropping games like the Bucks. Like, they are winning games. My big thing,
OKC Friday, that's not going to go well.
Yeah, I'm waiting. Like, I'm worried about them in like a tough stretch, like a tough road stretch or something, because that offense, like you said, is not. It's just not there. I think a big problem with Sengun is that people ran with the baby Jokic thing and then created this idea of him in their head of something that he isn't. Sengun is an incredibly skilled passer, capable of making most passes in the book. The decision making, it just simply is not anywhere near the level of even a Sabonis. Like, you cannot give Sengun 90 to 100 touches and expect him to just run an offense. Like, that's not who Sengun is. I would honestly say, I said this last year, his play style, not skill set, but just strictly play style, is way closer to Joel Embiid than it is to Jokic. In terms of the spots he likes to play and catch the ball, and really Sengun, I'm pretty sure, was the highest volume pick and roll man in the league last year. The pick and roll
was towards the top of that list for sure.
The pick and roll between Sengun and VanVleet was kind of the bulk of their offense. Sengun just happens to be a really skilled passer out of the post, but far from an offensive engine. And so I think when people had that idea in their head, because it was I made a tweet about this the other day. It was the Charizard thing, where Jokic is Charizard, Sabonis is the second evolution, and Sengun's the first one. But really, Sengun doesn't play like them. He's just also a very skilled passing big. So that's the first problem. Taking the ball out of his hands gets rid of his passing. VanVleet, like you said, hasn't been good. He's very streaky. We just talked about it with Kobe White. VanVleet's probably the most three-ball reliant guy in the whole league. There's no other scoring. It's all threes. No free throws, no layups. It's literally 3 or nothing for VanVleet. I like Jabari Smith, but I don't think he's developed into the player that he was expected to be, especially on defense.
For a top 3 pick, especially.
Yeah, people were expecting Jabari. Defense was his thing. It was the offense might actualize, but the defense is there. And I haven't seen the defense. I feel like he's kind of developed into a length and athleticism merchant, where it's he's going to have good defensive flashes, but he's not actually a great defender. And really, the greatest thing has been Jalen Green, because we talked about it. He's carried the offensive load with both VanVleet and Sengun. Also, I want to point out with Sengun, I didn't even talk about the defense. Sengun isn't closing games for them. He's sat out multiple fourth quarters. And it's because of, not only the clunky offensive fit, the fact that he's not a good defender. So, yeah, I'm sounding like a Sengun hater right now, but I don't think, I just think he's been
We get your Sengun jersey for your birthday, you're going to be really mad.
Sengun's kind of been bad this season. I'll just straight up say it. He's kind of been bad this season. And I don't know what to make of that, especially because they just paid him. But Jalen Green's carried the slack for both of those guys struggling. And I feel like you could point to Jalen Green as, the catalyst for them being 5-3. But actually, I would say it's been their 3 primary wing defenders that are kind of just carrying the team right now. Like, Dylan Brooks will always be a scapegoat for his antics and then what he kind of does on offense, but he's legitimately like a top 3 point of attack defender in the league. He's so good. Like, he can switch onto pretty much anyone. He gets around screens. He's got a super high motor. The ball pressure's there. Like, Dylan Brooks is just an elite defender. Tari Eason is starting to actualize. You kind of hinted at that.
I love
He's
Tari
been super
Eason.
active defensively. He's a stock machine. He's averaging like 2 steals and a block in 20 minutes a game. And the 3 balls falling. So Tari Eason hooping.
Amen Thompson's pound for
picked up
pound
right
top
where he
3
left off.
athlete
Yeah.
in the league.
Let's say he picked up right where he left off. So yeah, I think those 3 and Jalen Green like have really given this team an awesome like steadiness. And I'm kind of where you're at, where it's like, where do you go from here? What is the direction? Because like, is Şengün
Let's actually ask that question. Like, what is like if you're Emi Udoka right now, and who's their GM? Hold on, I feel like I should know this.
Is it Stone? Is it Raphael
That
Stone?
sounds right. Yeah.
Raphael Stone, I think.
Yeah, Raphael. So if you're them right now, it's November 6th. It is 11:38 Eastern. What's your direction if you're Houston?
I mean,
Because we knew in to some capacity would kind of come to a, I don't want to be dramatic and say breaking point, or just a point where you kind of have to make a decision because they have a lot of young guys here. They have a lot.
yeah.
Şengün, Jalen, you just paid them both. You have some like up and coming guys like Amin and Reed, and you have a bunch of other wings too, young wings that you hope to be contributors, and Cam and Jabari and Tari. So, what is the direction for Houston?
I mean, if you asked me, I think the first thing you have to, like, you kind of hinted at it a little bit. The first thing you have to do with direction is kind of choose between Jalen and Şengün. Which one do you want to go with? If you asked me this time last year, I would have said Şengün, no doubt. Like, Jalen Green, not even a question. Now I'm kind of probably leaning towards Jalen Green. And what's weird is that, like, I kind of feel like the ideal center for a Jalen Green offense, for an Amen Thompson offense, for all these guys, is like a Sabonis. Like a legitimate play initiator who's going to run dribble handoffs, delay action, and things like that. So or a spacing big, I guess would be the other one, like a Chet Holmgren.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I think long term, I really like a starting 4. Like, I don't know. See, it's tough to say with what these players will develop into, but like I feel like the idealized version of a 4 of Amen, Shepherd, Jalen, Eason sounds really good. Like,
yeah, and then you get like a spacing 5 or a play initiating 5 in there.
Yes,
but you don't even need a play initiating 5. They all develop how they're supposed to with Amen, Reed, and Jalen. I think get the spacing 5 in there.
Like if you like, okay, it's tough to say because like we don't know what these players are going to turn into, but like just keeping things, what you expect each player to develop into. How many wins do you think a starting 5 of Amen, Shepherd, Jalen, Eason, and like last year's Isaiah Hartenstein would win?
50.
Yeah, like I feel like that's a 50-win team.
That's a really good team.
Yeah, but I mean, who's a spacing big we can throw in there, like a young guy? Zach Edey.
Hey, Zach Edey's hit a couple threes.
Jay
Okay. This is I don't know why this guy just popped into my head. It's not going to happen. I wouldn't even like say super young spacing big, but throw Jaren Jackson Jr. at the 5.
Okay, I thought you were going to say Evan Mobley, because that would that'd be another one. That'd be another one. Because Mobley's shooting threes now, but we don't got to talk about that.
Yeah, they'll want to know about that.
Yeah, especially playmaking and shooting 5.
Hey.
Yeah, no, but
like Jokic, have at it.
Or like Bam would be fire. That'd be, yeah. I don't know. I think they're in a tough spot, but they definitely have to start pulling the plug on some of these young guys because, like, if they just keep everything exactly the same, I don't think they'll ever. Like, I think they'll be a perpetual mid Like they'll just kind of always be like 43, 44, 42, 46. Like they'll never actually have that breakthrough. And it's like now they're in the stage right now where everything has to be about choosing a direction. I just got deja vu. This was the exact conversation we had before the season, was choosing a direction. So I'm kind of, it's still up in the air.
I will say this to kind of put a ball in the conversation. I'm going to agree with you and go Jalen Green, but I think it's simply because of not even that I think this is sustainable, right? Kind of how he's playing. I think it's just the, in air quotes, I guess, easier archetype to build a team around. You can, especially if this is how Doka kind of views Sengun from a like closing out game standpoint, where like you're not going to close anyway. And we're going to lean heavily into playing through Fred and Jalen and let them play spread pick and roll and stuff like that. Okay, cool. Then let's kind of do one of the things that you were talking about. Like let's get the play finishing big. Let's get the let's get the stretch big or things like that. Even like you said, like the play initiated big. Like Sabonis was still cooked. Sabonis is for a really good roller still. Yes. But he has the passing, like legitimate playmaking hub to we can get Jalen Green attacking downhill, like out of the zoom actions and stuff that we were talking about. So, like for Jalen Green's flaws, like it's just the easier archetype to build around. I think, and I think for that reason, that's why I would also probably agree with you and say if you have to pick, then you're probably picking Jalen Green as of right now.
And you know what? We don't have this on the agenda, but I just want to give credit to Sabonis because he's
hooping.
But there's something specific that I don't think he's ever gotten enough credit for, and it kind of comes back to what we're saying right now. I remember when he was in the playoffs against the Warriors, he was getting dragged on Twitter like nonstop, like because it just wasn't a great series for him. But I remember there was one guy that I followed. I can't remember who it was, but he goes. He had like a different perspective. He was like, yeah, Sabonis isn't scoring too great. They're taking advantage of his lack of spacing. But there's one thing with Sabonis that really gets undervalued, and it's the fact that of any center in the league, so however many there are, there's 30 starters, there's 30 backups. Like, let's say there's 90 centers in the league. Sabonis and Jokic are the only two who you can legitimately give the amount of touches that like a Luka gets, and you're going to have a good team offense. Like 90 to 100 touches a game. Like if you give Anthony Davis or Embiid that many touches, it won't produce good team offense. They'll just
not like elite team offense.
Right. Like Sabonis,
they'll get their numbers still.
Yeah,
they'll still be really good.
Yeah, the team's efficiency won't thrive. Sabonis and Jokic are the only two, and I just wanted to like give credit to that because I think Jokic gets credit for that, but I don't think Sabonis does. Speaking of which, I wanted to check the scores because we were going to talk about the Suns to finish things off, and they were down to the Heat last time I checked. They came back and won. But before we get into that, I want to talk about the Nuggets came back and won tonight. I'm going to rewatch that game. Yeah. They gave the Thunder their first loss of the season.
Yet?
Have I watched what?
The Heat yet?
A little bit, not much. A little bit.
I watched them play Washington a little bit, so
yeah. Okay. Yeah, I've watched. Yeah, I think I watched that. I actually watched that game, the Heat, because I was watching some Bilal. But Jokic had 23, 19, and 16, and Westbrook had 29, 6, and 6, and they gave the Thunder their first loss of the season. So we're not going to talk about the Nuggets, but shout out to the Nuggets because that's big. I wanted to talk about the Suns because they are 7-1 now, 7-1, and I don't know if they've had a convincing win. Have they had a convincing win? Like, no. It's all been just itch it out, and it's crazy to me. But like, I don't know how sustainable it is to keep winning games like this.
Yeah, I had it. We got to talk about this last episode too.
Yeah, I had it written down for today when they were 6-1. I said, "How sustainable is it to keep winning games like this?" And then they do it again tonight to improve to 7-1. But like, I haven't watched the game yet, but I guarantee you it was some BS Kevin Durant shot making that won the game. For the fifth straight game, and it's so funny. They through the first 7 games, 6-1, Kevin Durant only had a +1 net rating, but like, they just won every game down the stretch because of Kevin Durant. And it's crazy because his assists are down. They're asking him to just be like a scorer. That's basically, they're just saying, like, Kevin Durant, we need you to just catch the ball, attack, score. Don't even worry about playmaking. That's what Tyus Jones is there for, and Tyus Jones is going viral on Twitter for hate compilations because they're Rondo assists, but like, just a guy to organize the offense matters. Like, not everything has to be an advantage creator and pull-up threat. Like, you can just organize the offense. There's still a place for that in the league, and the Suns are reaping the benefits. But what's crazy is that Budenholzer has somehow gotten a year 17 Kevin Durant to buy into an analytical shot diet. And he's improving. Kevin Durant is improving at like 36 years old. He's turned his long twos into threes. He's turned short mid-range pull-ups into shots at the rim. And he is playing the most efficient basketball since like Brooklyn. So I know you've been in on the Suns. I was kind of out on them even when they started like 4-1. But now that I've watched like more of the Kevin Durant experiment with like this new shot diet and the way he's taken over games down the stretch and Tyus Jones being the table setter, like, I'm kind of obsessed with the Suns right now.
The Suns still have, man, I feel like roles have switched. Where I was like the super optimistic guy about the Suns last episode. You're like, well, you know, they still have problems. But it's true. I do think the Suns still have some stuff that concerns me, and we've talked about this a lot. We've talked about the Suns in general a couple of different times throughout the course of the season already. But the combination of Budenholzer and Tyus Jones, I think legitimately, I don't think neither one of them got enough credit for how good of a floor raisers they are objectively. Like, Bud has his flaws. I think every coach has some stubbornness to him. Well, Bud's probably one of the 3 or 5 most stubborn coaches in the league.
Who's the most stubborn coach in the league?
Most stubborn coach in the league?
Is Ty Lue up there?
Ty Lue's up there. Ty Lue's definitely up there.
It's Doc Rivers. It's Doc.
Oh,
Rivers.
yeah, it's Doc. It's Doc.
It's
So
Doc Rivers.
Starting 5, like all team stubborn. It's got to be Doc. Give me Doc at the 1. Ty Lue's got to be in there.
Yeah.
Bud could probably play the 3, be a 3-and-D wing.
Yep. Who else? I mean, Steve Kerr.
Steve Kerr could be a stubborn
Steve Kerr's
prick.
weird because, like, I feel like adjustments-wise, he's super diverse, but, like, with his lineups, he's so stubborn.
He's so stubborn.
Stubborn with his lineups.
Gotta, like,
Greg Pop. Hey, Pop. Pop's pretty stubborn.
Pops. Also, prayers to Pop. Hope everything's good with Pop.
100%. Is Monty Williams still coaching? Because he's...
Oh, yeah. If he was, he'd be first pick of the draft.
What about Darvin Ham?
That actually came to my mind pretty quickly. I was like, wait, crap. Yeah, how do you have 2 of the most stubborn coaches in the league on the same staff?
I mean, it doesn't matter because they're doing very well. The Bucks obviously are doing very well with this coaching staff. So
very well. Yeah, that's probably the list. Another name that Loki came out was like Tibbs. We kind of go off on a side tangent here, but
yeah, I know. That's my bad. But yeah, like
all fun.
Agreed. And also, like, to build off of your point where you said I was kind of pessimistic about the Suns before, I'm still not liking the Bradley Beal part of the equation.
Yes,
not that Bradley Beal's not a good player. Just that I described it as
Tyus Jones is more important than Bradley Beal for them, and that's kind of the problem.
So is Grayson Allen. Yeah, Bradley Beal is just a square peg trying to fit into a round hole. So, like, if they found a way to somehow turn that into like a quality center, that'd be a scary team.
Would you trade Bradley Beal for Phoenix? I don't know. They can, I think.
I don't know what the market is. Like, I don't know if there's a team in the league that would want Bradley Beal. What team in the league would trade for Bradley Beal?
Never mind.
Were you gonna say the Lakers?
No.
I was gonna say
no. I wouldn't do myself like that.
You know what? I'm going to ask you a crazy question.
Okay.
This is just totally off the rails. We're just completely gone. Like an hour 15 in, we're just done now. If you replaced Bradley Beal with Bam Adebayo, would the Suns be on the level of the Thunder? It's a completely unrealistic thing. Like, would never happen. But just like straight up, I'm just getting into hypotheticals. You don't think so?
In and this is still just my biggest worry with Phoenix is Bam fixes a lot for him defensively. Like, let's get that clear. Like, Bam, who still, I mean, probably still has had the best start of the year.
You're going to talk about the rim pressure.
Oh, yeah. See, you already knew where this was going.
You're going to talk about the rim pressure.
I'm just worried playoff series comes up, and you do face OKC. Perfect example. Now, I think there'll be some series that they could avoid it, and it not necessarily, but like that's the Minnesota series, kind of in a nutshell, where you have ultra ball pressure guys on, like it with Ant and Jaden and somebody else, Nikhil Alexander Walker.
Yeah,
like, and then you have Rudy that could just camp and be one of the best, if not the best, drop big of all time. Just sitting there, that worries me legitimately. So, like, I know it kind of feels lazy to, like, default to that, but Bam doesn't fix that. Bam doesn't fix that.
Okay. Let me give you one more before we get out of here.
Bro's going to say Embiid.
No. It's not a big. It's not a big.
Okay,
Embiid would just be OD.
Okay. They're going to win the title.
If you replace Bradley Beal with... Okay, Bradley Beal and Nurk. Replace them both.
Okay.
With Ja Morant and Zach Edey.
Oh, I mean, yeah. That's equally the chip. most rim pressuring guard in the league, and then, you know, should pan out to be really good drop big. Okay, we saw both their problems.
All right, so that's that. You heard it here, Suns fans. They just have to trade Bradley Beal and Nurk for Ja Morant and Zach Edey, and they will be a tier 1 contender.
They will be a tier 1
I also
have to be like tired of hearing the rim pressuring point too, because again, it does feel lazy, but I do think it's a problem.
Yeah, and I do think it has improved a little bit just because of like Budenholzer's emphasis on shot diet. Like they've definitely been over, like not taking as many long twos. I also wanted to quickly mention, because I kind of wanted to just focus on KD, but I also threw in a little note about Booker's new kind of play style, because Tyus Jones has been the floor general. Booker right now, after 7 games, so it doesn't count tonight. 59% of his twos have been assisted this season. Last year it was 37. The year before, 39. The year before that, 40, 39, 42, 30. He's never been over 40%. Or let me see. Yeah, let me make sure. Okay, he's never been over 40. He was 45 as a rookie, and since then has never been over 42. Right now it's 59%. So off-ball Booker has been a completely different change in play style. And just like Durant, he's been turning all of those long twos into threes. His long twos have been cut in half, and his threes have been up like 13%. So
what's so funny is if you look at just overall the amount of Devin Booker field goal attempts that have been assisted, overall per like dunks and threes is at 69% of his field goal attempts have been assisted.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Where the previous career high, I'm not even going to count the rookie year. Previous career high after his rookie season would have been 2022, which would have been 46%.
Yeah, and that's with Chris Paul.
That's with Chris Paul.
Leading the league in assists.
Yeah. By the way, I'm a really, really big Book fan. I will say with Book, too, last season, 9.1 mid-range field goal attempts per 75 possessions, 6 to start the season. 10.1 the year before that, 10.7 in 2022. So to get that all the way down to 6, and he is shooting almost 8 3-point attempts per 75 possessions. So seeing, again, like you said with KD, to a certain extent, like the analytical shot diet.
And you know what, too? Even with one thing that I really like about Booker's statistical profile right now, is that even though his threes are up and his rim attempts really haven't changed, he's getting to the line at a career high. 8 free throw attempts a game.
Yeah.
That's big. That's big. So, yeah, I'm loving what I'm seeing from both KD and Book. The Bradley Beal thing still kind of rubs me the wrong way, but I think the Suns have been a really fun team to start the year.
Suns schedule coming up. They got Dallas Friday. And then they have OK. I love how every team. It was another team. Like,
does OKC just play every single game or every single day?
OKC is just limits test for every team in the West.
Yeah, every time.
All right, let's see who gets OKC.
Yeah, Golden State too. They got OKC coming up. I guess OKC just plays every team 5 times.
Yeah, OKC's like schedule must be tough then too. We're talking about all these other teams. Hold on. They play.
Oh yeah, and can we also just applaud the Cavs are the only undefeated team standing.
Way to continue to make me look stupid, Cleveland. You want
to know what's crazy? If the Cavs win their next game, which I believe is against the Warriors, if the Cavs win their next game, they'll be the first team to go 10-0 since the 2015-16 Warriors.
All right, so to prevent, I'm sorry, Cleveland fans, that's nasty agenda pushing. I need Golden State to win.
Let's check real quick while we're here.
It's Golden State. It's Golden State. That Friday night slate's elite. Then just
listen to this. If the Cavs beat the Warriors, they're 10-0, and then after that they have
Brooklyn,
Nets, Bulls, 76ers
with Embiid back.
With Embiid, that's going to be their first loss.
It's Chicago after that. It's Charlotte after that.
And then Boston. That's going to be it. The Embiid but that's the second night of a back-to-back, so Embiid's not going to play.
Oh. Golden State. This is going to be a nasty.
Like 15-0 if they beat Golden State.
This is going to be nasty. Golden State, please.
Then it gets worse. If they somehow beat the Celtics, then they have Pelicans, Raptors, Hawks back-to-back. Yo.
Steph, just you and me time here. You and me time here, Steph. Come on.
They're scary. The Cavs are scary. Yeah, but that's gonna do it. Unless you have any last thoughts, I think we're
Let's go Warriors. Ew, that also sounded weird. Blech.
Yeah, you started us off rooting for the Celtics, and now you're rooting for the Warriors. This is just nasty.
Yeah,
this is just nasty.
I know what's worse? The Cavs starting off what was that season? What 21-0 for Golden State, or was it like 24 maybe? 24-0. Yeah. We said OKC was 2015 Warriors, and it's just the Thunder. I mean, it's just the Cavs.
Yeah. Well, appreciate everyone listening. Make sure you follow us on Twitter at @TylerBritton_ and at Sean_DAVI. That's his new name, Sean Davy. Subscribe to the Hoop Venue channel. Subscribe to the Hoop Venue podcast channel if you're watching this. Follow us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, all that good stuff. Also follow us on Playback. Join our room because we're going to be doing some more live games with the chat and whatnot. But yeah, man, basically, if you search up either of our names or search up Hoop Venue on a social media platform, you're bound to find something. So you might as well just do it and follow. But like I said, appreciate everyone listening. We will catch you guys next time for episode 7.